You ever look in the mirror and wonder who it is that is staring back at you? I've been doing that a lot lately. Underneath this mask, my name is Peter Parker. In the costume I'm in, I go by the name Spider-Man. The whole thing, costume identity, supervillains, saving the world, seems so ridiculous. Like something out of a comic book. But it is what passes for my real life. Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, is my arch nemesis. How often do you get to use that term in a sentence? This is his mask I'm holding in my hand. Well, I think it is. You see, Norman is the kind of supervillain who not only wants to take over the world, but wants to make sure he screws up my life as much as possible while doing it. Can't tell you how many times I've watched that guy die. Somehow, he always comes back to make my life a living hell. This time around, last week in real time, he was working on this whole drugging/mind control thing. Had me masquerading as a Green Goblin without my knowing about it. Did a lot of stuff I'm not proud of. But a real scare to a lot of people I care about. This was all part of some crazy, right out of Star Wars idea Norman had about bringing me over to the dark side. Turning me into his heir apparent. Thing is, even with my having been Norman again, it's had me turned inside out ever since. He touched on a real tender spot of mine. I never really knew my mom and dad. They were killed in a plane crash when I was just a kid. Growing up, I couldn't accept that they could really be dead. How could they be? How could I know who I was if I didn't know where I came from? My memories of them are still so fuzzy. Especially my dad. I don't really know if I remember him at all, if I'm just remembering the stories Aunt May told me night after night. After all that happened with Norman, after all the questions he raised, I've got to know. I've got to know where I've came from.
Manhattan's Upper West Side. Even with the current development trends, there are still some slices of what used to be real neighborhoods left in the city. This is one of them. Old man Franzetti opened his cigar shop in a time before cigars were the in thing, before supermodels posed on glossy magazine covers with cigars smuggled in from Cuba stuck between their collagen-filled lips. He's had his fair share of famous people pass through his doors. Nick Fury, The Thing, that short, hairy guy from Canada. But times are changing, and Franzetti is feeling it like his time is coming to an end.
Look at this. This ain't no neighborhood no more. Almost none of us old-timers left. Everything's Starbucks and Gucci. Hardly any native New Yorkers left alive. Just a bunch of farm-fed rednecks who want a fancy address so they can pretend their daddies don't have a barbed wire collection back home in Nebraska. And the new breed of criminal? In the old days, you dealt with a better class. Men of honor. It was the cost of doing business, and you knew it. Now? What the? People don't even clean up after their mutts anymore? There ought to be a... Hey, what is this?
You should have listened, old man. You should have cooperated. Too late. Time for talking is over. You old guys never learn. You think you're owed something? Well, you and all of your old boys clubs are done. You could have gone down to Florida and lived on some nice beach somewhere. Instead, look at what you're making me do. Dragging you down.
No, stop! I'll leave!
Too late, old man. I was told to start setting examples.
No!
Oh my, look how it's faded. Oh, the years have just flown by, Peter. I remember taking this picture of the boys like it was yesterday.
Dad doesn't look too happy to be having his picture taken, Aunt May.
Never was much of a preener, that father of yours. Was always uncomfortable around the camera. But he did idolize his big brother Ben, though. This picture was taken just a couple of years before your father and his buddy, Big Mike Callahan, entered the service. They were underage, had to lie to get in, but that was your father, a real hellraiser. I remember how worried Ben was about him. Peter, dear, can I ask why the sudden interest in your dad?
I was just realizing that I don't really remember him all that much. I wasn't much more than a baby when he and Mom left, and I have a pretty good picture of my mom in my mind, but Dad, it's like the memory is fading, just like the picture. Can you tell me more, Aunt May? I feel like I need to know him.
Of course, dear. I'll tell you all I can remember. At my age, it's sometimes easier to remember events of 30 or 40 years ago than it is yesterday. You know your dad was the smart one in the family, but he also had a heart of gold. I think Ben looked up to his little brother as much as your dad did to Ben.
Boy, I never heard even half of those stories about my dad before. Makes me realize I really never did know him. Not as anything more than a character from the old family stories. Not as a man. Gotta change that.
Dad, you gotta tell me. What's it like?
Sounds like Randy is home, and he's got company.
You've seen lots of them up close and personal. Not only the Goblin, Tombstone, all the bad super dudes. I mean, this is the first time for me. Seeing the Green Goblin face to face like that. Having him chasing me. I can't get it out of my head.
If you let it, it can change the way you look at the world we live in, son. But, hey, Peter. How's it going, kid?
Oh, pretty good, Robbie. You guys keep going. I'll catch with you later. That's the last conversation I need to get involved in. Got enough with supervillains in the other part of my life.
Man, I needed a break. I don't remember the last time Randy reached out to me like this. Seems odd that an attack by a supervillain is the thing we get to bond over. How are you doing, Peter? How are you holding up?
Pretty good, I think. Trying to sort things out. Feeling envious that Randy has you to talk to.
I hear you. Didn't really know my own pops. What's in the bag? An old photo album?
Yeah, my Aunt May thought maybe it would help me get to know my dad a little better.
Hey, Dad, I just remembered something else about when the Goblin attacked me. You wanna hear?
Sure, son. I'll be right there. You know, Peter, if you want to learn about your dad, your aunt and some old photos aren't going to give you the real story. You got to find someone who really knew him. An old buddy or something.
An old buddy? Aunt May? It's Peter. I have a question about my dad's old friend, Big Mike. You have any idea how to reach him these days? This is it. My dad's old stomping grounds. Aunt May said she hadn't heard from Mike Callahan in years. That she knew he had opened this bar. This place. This street looks pretty empty for Manhattan in the middle of the day. Wonder what's up with that.
What are you doing, boy? This is crazy. It's gotta stop now.
I'm guessing that would be Big Mike.
They're all friends of mine, and I'm not gonna let you... Can I help you?
I think so. Are you Mr. Callahan?
Uh-huh. Do I know you?
No, sir. But I think you knew my father, and
I don't think we are done here, Dad. Do you really have time for...
Sweet Mary, it can't be! I should have known it the minute I laid eyes on you. It's like I'm looking at his twin, Rich Parker's kid. Jeez, I haven't seen you since you were in diapers, kid. Not a day goes by that I don't think of Rich. Rest his soul. I'm glad you looked me up, real glad. How's that aunt of yours? That May Parker was a pistol. My first crush, you know? Have a seat, kid, and let's shoot the breeze. Donnie, you do what I said and back off. I don't want to have this talk another time. No more.
When he just looked our way, my spider sense went off big time.
Don't let Donnie get to you, kid. Always been a little off. My only son, what a waste. Anyway, Petey, what can I do you for?
I was wondering if we could talk about my dad.
Mind? I could tell you tales that would curl your hair till someone thought you were an Osborne. Let me tell you about the time me and Rich got together with some Rockettes and a keg of beer. Well, it was before he met your mom, of course, and...
A few doors down at the Vargas coffee shop, Miguel Vargas cleans up after another fruitless day in business.
No point in staying open late these days. What, with all the competition from the big coffee chain stores, and with Franzetti disappearing. Maybe Mary is right. Maybe I should sell out to the chain that's been making offers. But I like it here. Like the regulars that come to the shop just for that special cup of coffee. No cappuccinos, no latte, no toppings. Just coffee. I grew up in this neighborhood. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let some big-time suits push me out. What the? Plumbing in this place is going to kill me someday. Look at me, at something grabbing me, pulling me in. What is this? Ink? This is too strange. Can we get out? Kill someone before...
You want to know what kind of man your dad was, kid? I'll give you a prime example. It goes back more years than I can remember. Your dad and I, we were on leave from the service. Came back to the old stomping grounds to raise a little hell, but mostly to relax. It was nighttime, real early morning. We'd had a pretty heavy night of partying. There we were, walking down the street and minding our own business when we heard an argument taking place down in some alley. Couldn't hear what was being said, but you could tell that things were gonna come to blows. Your dad, he wants to see what's going on. Me, I want to mind my own business and go home and get some sleep so we can get up and party the next night. Of course, as always, we did what your dad said. We get halfway down the alley, we can hear the arguing louder and louder, and then the first blow. There was the biggest guy I ever saw getting ready to beat the heck out of a little guy. This guy was huge, Pete. I kid you not, bigger than me. Your dad, he never could stand a bully, so he walks right up and gets in this mountain's face. Asks him to back off. This big guy's practically snorting fire at this point, Pete. He's staring down at your dad and I could swear he's gonna bite his head off. Your dad just smiles and asks what's going on, like it was nothing. The guy starts ranting in your dad's face, says the little guy is his no good rotten son and that his business is none of your dad's business. Then before I can do anything to stop him, he takes a swing at your dad. And then I watched the most amazing thing I ever saw. Your dad was pretty good in a scrap for a little guy. Takes the punch. It was a pretty good blow too, but your dad just sucks it up. I wanted to jump in, but Rich stopped me with a look. He was hurt, staggered back, but he didn't take a shot at the guy. Your dad knew a thing or two, Pete. I'm sure he could have taken the big guy out, but he didn't. Instead, he looked up at him and asked, "You think your son could have taken that one? How would that have made you feel? Feel like talking now?" The guy dropped his hands. They must have talked until the sun rose. In the end, the father and son walked away. Your dad and I never spoke about what happened. He could have gone wild on the guy. Probably could have hurt him real bad, but he didn't. He was the kind of guy who believed in being responsible and not abusing what power he had. I'm not the only friend your dad had. You gotta look some more of them up, Pete. He was a good man, your dad. I hope you're doing him proud. Pete, you stay here. Do not come outside, no matter what you hear. I gotta take care of something. I'll be back when I can.
Spider Sense is going wild again. This is not something Big Mike can take care of on his own. He's gonna need some of my kind of help.
Miguel, is that you, man?
Mike! What is this thing? Help me! For the love of God, help!
It's okay, Miguel. I'm not gonna let him hurt you. Not gonna let him hurt anyone anymore. It ends tonight. Huh?
Is that right, Big Mike Callahan? You think you got it in you to face the power of the squid?
No, but maybe I do.
Ah!
How about we give it a try? The squid? The squid. I recognize you from... Wait a minute, didn't I go up against you a couple weeks ago? Yeah, it was that night that you costumed guys were crawling out the woodwork, right? The squid? What, you don't realize that animal supervillain names are passé? Especially slimy sea creature monikers? Oh boy. I've been thinking of changing my name to something a little more millennial. Yeah, that's it. Millennial Man. Fight to the power of a million years. Ah, yuck. Please tell me you made this stuff up in a laboratory and that's not a mutant power or something. I don't even want to think about where it's coming from.
Spider-Man! I remember you too. You hurt my girlfriend, Misfortune. She was to see me after that. And it's all your fault.
What are the odds, huh? Seems like I run into every lame supervillain with a little power and a lot of spandex these days. It's really time for a change. Okay, Squiddy, time for this encounter to come to an end.
No, wait!
What the?
You leave my son alone, you hear me? He's not right in the head, he's got problems.
Oh, like, I need this.
Donnie, cut it out! Don't make me...
Don't make you what, Big Mike? You can't push the squid around the way you did little Donnie Callahan.
So help me, Donnie, I'll... You're right. Guess I've just been handling it wrong all these years and never could see it. I don't know what to do anymore, Donnie. I've tried my best. Tried to be a good father after your mom died, but I just didn't do a good enough job, I guess. You always fell in with the wrong crowd. Always let yourself be led. Street gangs, and now... this, whatever it is you've become. Why did you let them do this to you, Donnie?
Laura is my girlfriend. She said we didn't have to be pushed around anymore, not by our parents, not by anyone. Look at all the power I've got. I can kill Spider-Man.
You call this power? This is how you choose to use it? Living in the sewers with that skanky girlfriend of yours? Both of you are just silly little kids who have gotten in way over your heads. What happened when you and Miss Fortune got beaten by Spider-Man after your first outing as superpowered criminals? The very people who gave you these powers turned on you. Almost killed your girlfriend. Now you get by while preying on our friends and neighbors? Extorting them for some local crime boss. The people who loved you. Looked after you when you were growing up.
You should have been looking after me, but all you cared about was the bar.
You're right. I'm sorry. I had a responsibility. I had a power, and I blew it. Don't kill a man for my mistakes. Please.
All I wanted was you. Wanted to know you. Wanted to be like you, but...
Ugh, back off, Squid.
This is none of your business.
Nice one. Let me ask you. Do you think your dad could have survived that one? How would that have made you feel? Feel like talking now?
And Spider-Man begins to talk, late into the night, until the sun rises the following morning.
You know, Peter, dear, you learn to be the man you've grown up to be from your Uncle Ben, but more and more I see you are your father's son.
I'm starting to see that too, Emma. Hey there, my fellow webheads. Just wanted to swing on by. Getting it because it's Spider-Man, so I swing around on. Anyways, if you like this content, if you want to help support your fellow neighborhood Spider-Man and everyone else included in these, feel free to like and subscribe. If not, don't worry about it, but there's more to come. So, doesn't hurt nothing, right? Anyways, I gotta go fight some more crime, so I'll see you guys in the next episode. See ya!